I think we can absolutely, easily change the world into every direction, but I think the easiest way would be the best way for all of us. So the easier we go in terms of surrender to the waves of energy, the faster it will get the better for all living beings. Which is the opposite to the current narrative that we have to work harder. And I think there is very little to squeeze out of this burnt out culture. When we hear work harder, we are that burnt out and that exhausted and that depleted in our adrenals and hope, etc., on every level. It's just pushing it even more into this direction is something that I can just consider to be stupid. It's just, that's so 80s. So what's timely? I think timely is shifting everything around in terms of make it easier. Surrender more to your instincts, your instinct for energy, your instinct of healing and self-regulation. And that's a thing that can become concrete for those ones who are, for example, into somatic trauma therapy, and that's an incredibly privileged hobby. You need a lot of money, you need a lot of luck being surrounded by therapists who are trained well enough and then can handle your case. So even though I think that trauma healing is something that should happen for all of us, and it kind of has to happen for all of us, it's just not likely to think that all of us would have to be able to afford a therapist. It's just that for sure won't happen, because we will have to get it done if we want to get it done on a global scale. Being confronted with super suboptimal circumstances around a lot of poverty, a lot of suffering, and a lot of anxiety, and a lot of chaos. So, us waiting for money or therapists to be trained on a big scale is just a waste of time. So where do we start with concrete action right now without being dependent on better circumstances? I think one chance that I learn is every microcosm mirrors the macrocosm. And what I want to say by that is the microcosm of my individual nervous system being healed in trauma therapy or not is reflected. It is the same in the macrocosm as the macrocosm of the collective nervous system internet, or the internet being one layer of our collective nervous system. That being true or not needs to be tested before we know if that's true. And I think it would be interesting to measure if we put the word true into the scale or not, if we measure that from the term of usefulness. Is it useful to consider the internet to be a collective nervous system? ? And then let's test. And I want to boil down, whatever I want. Let me share. What I suggest or what I feel interested in. I feel interested in going into the internet, and the best thing would be live. This video is pre-recorded, and that's not optimal, and that's not where it happens. It's just where I'm talking about that, taking action with that. Me, you, whomever, going live in the internet and not sharing information, but meeting the field of being live in the internet, which is interesting on many levels. It's interesting because you can't make it undone what you did a minute ago. So you did something super embarrassing everybody saw from your Instagram followers. And that is why we are keeping delivering information around what we love to talk about, because it's so fucking vulnerable to be exposed to everybody who has Instagram, or YouTube or Facebook, wherever you chose to do your live. And you can't make it undone. to some extent it feels like you can't apologize for who you are. And that, of course, freaks us out as long as we are traumatized. So it is, for example, going live, meeting the potency of the situation to wound me, to re-traumatize me, to scare me, etc., etc. And also meeting the internet as a nervous system. Because let's stay with Instagram Live, but it can be anything in the mass social media. The mass social media are officially saying that the content we are putting there, for example, this content, this video being posted on YouTube, it's not mine, it's YouTube's. It can do with it whatever it wants. YouTube can delete my content overnight without explanation. Same can do Facebook, same can do Instagram. They can just delete it because it's theirs. And theirs is not a party of mighty, mean men. It's robots. It's algorithms. It's what we from our soul would describe as accidents. How about doing an Instagram Live and knowing in this moment I'm handing over what I'm doing. What I'm producing here is not my product. It's what you possess. You as Instagram being the one I have to make the deal with, because otherwise I won't be able to reach you. So even in an Instagram Live isn't direct. It isn't direct, it's filtered. I am in direct contact with a soul less, or with a robot, with an algorithm, with a calculation of a computer without a soul before I reach you. So Instagram telling me the moment I start an Instagram Live, we will tell your followers and friends that you are going live. Yes. They will deliver the message. I'm not doing that. And I'm completely dependent on algorithms and accidents and calculations that I do not understand. And that are not made for being understood. And they are not meant for being known. And they change overnight. And nobody tells you that they change. And sometimes an Instagram Live can be saved and posted and reposted. And sometimes it's just gone and you cannot figure out why. You just feel secretly punished by a big brother and you do not know why he's watching you and what he's looking for. So you are afraid of a God that has his own values and judgments. And it's better to breathe less and shrink more in every expression of aliveness, because everything that's too expressive can be trigger God, Big Brother, your parents, or the algorithm. Do you get what I'm saying? This is why the internet is a collective nervous system. We now get so angry about the social media, the mass social media, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, kind of undermining that we possess or want to possess our content, that they can do with it whatever they want. This video might be a reason for me to check in with my team if it's too dangerous to post it on YouTube anyway. So then I would only post it on alternative platforms where censorship isn't possible due to the way they are programmed. And by the way, whenever you want to make sure that somebody with interesting material or output is somebody you want to stay in touch with through the internet, the best way is to connect on alternative platforms and or get on her or his email list. Social media are run out of time in terms of reliability. It's way too risky. I lost track. Let me tune in for a moment. The collective nervous system. We now freak out and are like in our puberty around, oh, this has to change. But what we do not get is, it has always been the same. Nothing new is coming up. We now talk about technocracy instead of democracy. And we say, we didn't vote for technocracy. First of all, we voted for that. We voted for that. It's not Mark Zuckerberg who's rich. It's us who feed the game. It's you. It's me. I have a Facebook account. I have 2 Facebook profiles. So as long as we are addicted being the good ones who wanted it to be different, it's not true. It's just not true. And I'm not saying that because I want to slap into my face or your face. I'm saying that because we cannot access the game with a powerful position when we keep telling ourselves a story that's just not true. Every stupid algorithm will stay smarter than we are when we are stuck to self-deception. You feed Facebook. Keep doing that because you do that and enter the game from there. The only thing you have to sacrifice is you are not the good boy who saved the rest of the world, who's stuck in Facebook. You show up there yourself. You sleep with the enemy. You have this gram of poison in your hand. And I'm serious, keep doing that. Show up from there. Not being addicted to being the good one. If we would stop being addicted to being the good ones, we would show up as the even better ones. Because we are not running around being busy with our self-image and tell ourselves and everybody else it's about saving the world. No, it's about saving our ego. We want to be the good ones because we want to be the good children, because we want to be the good little brother, and we are not. And it's okay. It's okay to be judged by Big Brother. It's okay to be judged by your God. It's okay to be called out by an algorithm. We say we didn't vote for technocracy. The thing is, we never voted for what ruled our game. Politicians are way less powerful than we project into them, and they feel way less powerful. They do a very, very complex, hard job with an amount of pressure that's just immeasurable. I think the one political skill set is really handling pressure in your nervous system, like containing an insane amount of input from all different directions. All of us projecting into them. We are a victim. And you know how much, maybe you know, how much you are willing to go into manipulation and putting pressure on others when you deeply experience that you are a victim of them. And you are never a victim. You are not a victim of technocracy, and you are not a victim of politics, and I'm not a victim of global change or whatever. So, technocracy is not a new thing. And if it is a new thing, no, let's start different. Technocracy is not a new thing. The new thing is we realize it because it hits us from the unpleasant side. But the pleasant side is the pleasant side is what was running the game. It's like feeding us with sugar, seducing us with sugar. In the first place, we liked it when the YouTube algorithm and the Instagram algorithm told our friends that we are live. It felt nice. We voted for that. We voted for technocracy from the very beginning. And we knew it. We just preferred to not see that we get rewarded by robots instead of humans. In that way, we voted. And in another way, we didn't vote for technocracy. We didn't vote for the politics, because what rules our game is never voted by a human's mind. It's voted by our unconscious material, which is what I would call our instincts, being deeply, deeply, deeply frozen in chronic stress due to global trauma, transgenerational trauma, collective trauma. So when we want to step into the awareness or experience that we voted for our life, that we wanted our life to be how it is, we would have to shift where we operate to the individual and the global nervous system. And in the global nervous system, we just see the reflection. We never understood why we got loved by our parents and this outer world, because we couldn't make sense from that. We were born with this innocent instinct of aliveness and being wonderful and being a walking contribution. And then the outer world made that collapse without bad intentions. I mean, hopefully without bad intentions. In most cases, without bad intentions. And it put us into confusion about who we are and what we have to deliver in order to be loved. And then we figured out, ask your Instagram followers how they are doing today. Ask them to go into action and interaction with your post. And it worked. And we said, cool, I'll keep doing that. It makes me loved and famous. And then all of that turned into the drug. And we try to make it feel nice. And it stops feeling nice because more and more of our friends die from the drug. Get deleted. The most beloved, most talented friends die as the first ones. Their account is gone. And the robot isn't sorry. So we are always ruled by the stuff that we cannot make sense of, because it's a thing without a soul, a robot in the internet, or a numb part of our nervous system due to trauma. It's always the impersonal, which rules the game on every level. The beautiful thing is we can meet the impersonal internally in terms of shadow work, which means stop wanting to be the good one who is different because you are not. And in the internet, doing an Instagram live and talking about this moment being a danger zone and a hidden flirt with an impersonal thing, crossing this field before we can dive into the illusion of this being a personal and intimate meeting between you and me. Even in this moment, I feel you. And there are two corners or edges in between. First of all, the time, because this is a pre-recorded video. And second of all, it's YouTube, Facebook, Instagram who have to let that through. And I have no control about it. I could have talked about love and light. That would have worked for sure. And that's exactly what I'm talking about. Couldn't we shut up a little bit more with our truth in order to make it a little bit more likely to be a little bit more liked by a robot? And here's the last thing. What these two examples of your individual nervous system and the collective nervous system being ruled by impersonal fields, selling us the illusion of being about personal stuff, providing a matrix for truth by blurring truth in the very first moment the whole setup is set up. Both of these levels reflect to us how we are meeting as humans anyway. You and me meeting on the street. Let's say it's not about a lockdown, but about a free meeting where we can shake our hands or give each other a hug. We always tell each other, this is so direct, this is so personal. You are so seen, I am so seen, because it feels like that. And we are always projecting and filtering impersonal stuff. We have no idea how much projection we are carrying inside. You do not have to pass my open heart for aliveness in order to be recognized as my friend. You have to pass so much more tests, which are about, are you in a way freer, happier, or loving yourself more in a way that I can't contain, because then I feel suffocated in my own envy. In that case, I might make you turn into my enemy, just because I can't endure that others are so much more happy and free and privileged than I am. All those things. We highly underestimate our own internal, impersonal layers of filter, testing, projection. We underestimate the amount of inhumanness and impersonal, almost sadism when it comes to life being just about love and just about connection. Again, third layer of challenge. Let's stop being the good ones. Let's stop being the good ones. You are doing that within yourself. You have to pass your tests around being lovable and functionable and everything in order to be at least a little bit more okay. And you're doing the same with even your best friends, or maybe first of all with your best friends. Me doing the same. And yes, you're welcome to say that this is me just talking about myself, projecting on everybody else. You can disagree, and I might be wrong, but I think I'm not. Us stopping running from our inner inhumanness. Us letting go of the drug. Being addicted to being the good ones. Seeing that we are not. I think one thing, that's the last thing that I want to share for now. One thing why we are so resistant to letting go of being the good ones is that we believe that the opposite of being the good ones would be being the bad ones in terms of being guilty, which means being stuck again in the frequency of guilt, which is really a frequency that causes stagnation instead of change. So I get that. But if we would be able to leave the self-deceptive game of being the good ones and stepping into the energy of being the bad ones instead of the mind judgments of, oh, feel bad because you're a bad one, feel guilty because you're a bad one. If we would manage to step into what we cause internally and externally, globally and individually, by us not being the good ones without feeling guilty, without going into the next drug of, oh, I'm a sinner, I have to beat myself up. If we would go into being the bad ones with the fiercest self-love, we would be able to serve such a huge amount of energy release that I think that it's like a nuclear bomb explosion of relief and release. And we underestimate what one of those nuclear bombs of relief and release inside would cause on the global scale. I think it doesn't have to be done by many. I think it's way more effective than even, which is highly effective, us gathering in terms of meditation. If we would instead of meditation release those bombs of relief and release by meeting that I am the bad one with fierce self-love. If we would do that, we would access the inner power that would bring us at least closer to the awareness of how easy it is, how easy it is to change this world for the good. It's easier than our everyday holding on to the suffering and the problem. It's so much easier. Let's stop talking about this being difficult, because the word difficult is poisoned. It gives a hint into the wrong direction. Can it be easier? Yeah. Let's play the game and win the game in the easy fields.